Hello YouTube friends. I had promised a while back a video regarding Goudey and National Chicle and their battle for baseball premium supremacy during the mid-1930s. However, when I started planning out this video, I quickly realized I was not going to be possible for me to fully discuss these premium sets in a single video that was going to be short enough for YouTube. So this is going to be part one, and I'll focus on the R313 fine pins from National Chicle, and then the Goudey wide pins R314 will be covered in part two. Now, before I jump right in, you'll need to understand a little background information. The catalog designations I talk about, R313 and R314, were created in the early 1950s when the founding fathers of our card collecting hobby worked together to compile the standard catalog that was used to categorize and document the various items they were collecting. And in doing this, they were grouping cards and premiums together based on similar appearance, the issuing company, and distribution methods. But sometimes cards that had been issued years prior and cards that looked a lot alike tended to just get lumped together in one catalog designation. So even though they looked alike, they got put in this designation, but the cards could actually be from different sets. They might have been issued by different companies and very often could have been issued in completely different years altogether. And R313 is a catalog designation for National Chicle fine pins, but it's one of those cases of things that just got lumped together, and it also contains a number of other cards from different sets as well. And for that reason, the story of R313 doesn't start with National Chicle. It doesn't even start with Goudey. It starts with Wheaties and their parent company, Gold Medal Foods. Now, before I get started very far into this, I need to give credit to someone, to Tim Newcomb. Tim did an incredible amount of research regarding the fine pins and the wide pin cards and other similar cards from this time period. He wrote an extensive article that was printed in Old Cardboard magazine probably about 10 years ago. It was one of the articles that I read when I first started getting interested in these sets. I just want to give credit to him because the knowledge and the research that I'm sharing with you all originates with his work. And really, I'm just sharing the things I learned from him with you. As I was saying, Wheaties, the Breakfast of Champions, was one of the first to bring using baseball premiums as a marketing tool in the early 1930s. And in 1933 and into 34, Wheaties was advertising a mail-in offer for baseball photos on a variety of local radio stations in multiple markets, mostly through the Midwest. Now, nearly all the details and even most of the cards from this promotion have been lost to time. Wheaties didn't keep records on what player cards were created for it, where exactly they were offered, or what was necessary to receive them. The records show that about 40 to 50,000 premiums were sent out as part of the promotion. Probably not even 1% of those cards have survived. They're extremely rare. From what I've read, there are 19 players whose cards from this promotion have been documented. Each of those cards, no more than a handful, are known to exist. In some of them, there's only one known copy. And these incredibly rare cards are like the magical unicorns of the cards known as 313. And then in late 1934, as the World Series was taking place, Wheaties created a 12-card set to honor that 1934 World Series. The set featured 6 players from the Cardinals and 6 from the Tigers, the two teams that were competing in the World Series. 5 Hall of Fame players are included in the set. Dizzy Dean, who tends to command the highest price of anyone in the set, and also Frank Fritsch and Joe Medwick of the Cardinals. And on the Tigers, there was Mickey Cochran and Goose Goslin. Now, the absence of two of the Tigers' biggest stars, Hank Greenberg and Charlie Gehringer, is pretty glaring. And you have to assume that Wheaties just wasn't able to meet the financial asking price of those players for the rights to use their image in the promotion, which is unfortunate because what's a really cool set could have been even more amazing to have those two players included in it as well. For a time, this set was often referred to as Gold Medal Flower due to conflicting beliefs about who distributed them, but it's now been confirmed that they were distributed by Gold Medal Foods as part of their Wheaties promotion. And Gold Medal Foods was also a parent company of Gold Medal Flour, which probably contributed to the confusion. Now, customers could send in a Wheaties box top and would receive one card for each box top they sent in. It's believed that customers were able to specify which card they wanted to receive, but the fact that there doesn't seem to be short prints from this card and you don't see some of the lesser stars available in lesser quantities than the major stars like Dean and Cochran, it really makes me question that assumption. So I wonder if perhaps, the customers could say which player they wanted, and early on that's what they received. But I'm wondering that maybe once, as soon as all the available cards for some of the star players were exhausted, Wheaties just started filling those orders with some of the less desirable players that they still had cards available for. And that's what those customers received, regardless of what they may have requested. Now, cards from this 1934 Gold Medal Foods World Series set are not difficult to locate. You can normally find most of the set pretty regularly just using an eBay search for 1934 gold medal. The complete set of all 12 cards can be completed for a really pretty modest sum compared to the price of cards from many of the gum companies from that same era. And so it's a good entry point for somebody to kind of wet their toe with building a pre-war baseball set. With only 12 cards, it's pretty easy and quick to complete. All right, now I've talked for several minutes now about the Wheaties cards associated in that R313 umbrella, but I haven't gotten to what the catalog designation is mostly associated with, so it's time to get to them. The 1936 National Chicle Fine Pen Premiums. National Chicle and Goudey, as I said before, they've been slugging it out against each other in the gum card market since 1934, and both companies had kept an eye on the success that Wheaties was having in the use of premiums. And after a few experiments with premiums to get their feet wet, both companies went all in during 1936 and made the baseball premium set their featured product for that year. And National Chicle's fine pens was their offering. They get their name from the facsimile autograph signature on the card, which was of thinner font style than what was used by Goudey for their set. And the Wheaties cards were lumped in with fine pens because they have a similar size and similar thinner font facsimile signature as well. The fine pen set is comprised of 120 premium. It's got a variety of subjects from your standard individual and multiplayer poses and also some live action shots. The most significant card in the set is a live action shot featuring Joe DiMaggio captured taking a swing with the bat. And while the card was issued during his rookie season with the Yankees, the photo itself shows him in his Pacific Coast League uniform during a minor league game. The lack of the Yankee pinstripes distracts a bit from the value and desirability, but it's still a highly significant card as it's one of the earliest collectibles ever issued of Mr. DiMaggio. It seems National Chicle had a crack proofreader on their design team, as over a dozen premiums feature players whose names are misspelled in their facsimile signatures, including Hall of Famers Jimmy Fox, Archie Vaughn, and Bucky Harris. Obviously the design team wasn't made up of those that were either baseball fans or had much regard for quality control. Premiums of the fine pin set are not difficult to find, although due to their thinner poster paper type stock, high-grade examples are quite rare. Ungraded mid to low examples from the set are readily available on eBay. Anytime you search for fine pin in the sports cards section, you'll find lots of them. However, most of them will be lower condition examples. One of the reasons for the abundance of the fine pin and also the wide pin premiums is that they were distributed as in-store redemptions. So unlike the Wheaties cards that involved mailing away for your cereal box tops to receive your card later on, a young baseball fan could turn in his National Chicle gum wrappers at the counter of their neighborhood grocery store and receive their premium right then. Whether the fan was able to choose which player he received, or if it was simply the top card in the stack or whatever the grocery store proprietor decided to give them, I imagine that probably depended on the nature and the patience of that individual retail proprietor. The distribution, though, that meant that National Chicle was sending out these premiums in advance to their partnered retailers. So they were already out there and able to be distributed. And then when the promotion ended, a lot of those leftover premiums probably ended up being kind of hoarded away by the store proprietor, or they may have just been handed out at the end as well. But most of the high-grade examples that exist from this set are likely from hordes of this leftover inventory that just got squirreled away by a grocery store owner that, had a pack rat nature, and they just sat untouched for years after that. The fact that these premiums were not printed on thicker cardboard stock that most associate with true baseball cards has always kind of reduced the desirability of both the fine and the wide pin premiums from their more valuable and appreciated gum card counterparts. However, the larger size format and the incorporation of real photos as opposed to simply illustrations has always been something that has made them appealing to me. For a collector looking to find examples of Hall of Fame players of the era at a significantly more affordable price than of other cards in the era and aren't concerned with chasing high grades or registry points, this set's a great way to get started in collecting pre-World War II baseball without the need for a huge collecting budget. Fine pin premiums were part of National Chicle's final hurrah, as despite the relative success of this premium program, they went bankrupt the following year. Goudey had won the battle between them, but they would remain in the marketplace only another few years after that. I hope you found this interesting. Part 2 is going to cover the Goudey wide pins and the cards under that umbrella in more detail, and that'll be coming out soon. So I'll talk to you again then. Take care.